Yo, what up, Toshi here. Okay, there's nothing more infuriating than actually making a video start to finish, the best one take video you've ever done, and just like none of the audio is showing up. So Black Swan has been a very amazing character to use. To be honest, she has brought a lot of fun, a lot of enjoyment in the combat experience with not only DoT teams, but just in Honkai Star in general. There's nothing like having a character look as good as she does that performs as good as she does as well. And without a doubt, having her at E, okay, I have her at E1, but even at E0, she is an amazing character. She has a lot of synergy with DoT characters. Even if you don't have Kafka in the same party, you're able to reliably get the character's own personal damage going with other DoT characters like Sampo, Fen, and so on and so forth, Luca too. Now let's get the gist of the character out the way. Black Swan has an elemental skill that inflicts defense down on the enemies, and this lasts for 3 turns. This in combination with her basic attack allows her to be played as a skill point positive character. Keep that in mind. Black Swan has an ultimate that increases the damage the enemies take whenever they take their turn. This is extremely valuable because if you take into consideration, just like Sampo increasing the damage the enemies take from DoT, this, on top of the defense stretch he provides, is a lot of damage increase for the team. This, however, does not proc whenever Kafka detonates with her elemental skill and ultimate. If that was the case, this definitely would be a lot stronger, and the character would be a lot more ult dependent, so I kinda am glad they didn't go that route. Black Swan has a talent, or in better ways of saying it, has a DoT she throws into the enemy, and you'll start the fight with this DoT, and it goes up 3 stacks, and then once that enemy does take their turn, then the stacks will detonate and you'll reset down to 1. Now, to take into consideration, the more stacks you have on the enemy, think of this as Black Swan's own personal DoT, the more damage you'll deal overall. And the easiest way to get those stacks on the enemy is by having other characters in the team party that are also able to apply DoT. Kafka, Sampo, Luca, and so on and so forth. And that's thanks to Black Swan having a bonus ability that whenever the enemy takes a DoT, whether that's from a character that is able to detonate like Kafka, or an attack that is able to detonate directly like Fen, you're able to increase Arcana stacks on that enemy, depending on the amount of dots on the enemy at the time. So if you have Sampo, Black Swan, and Kafka in the same team party, you'll get 3 Arcana stacks really easily. However, if you do have Black Swan and Kafka, only those two, and you're using a character like May, and then a character like Luocha for your defensive option, you can still get 3 stacks of Arcana, but you're going to need Kafka's 5-star light cone. Even on Kafka's 5-star light cone, you'll only get 2 Arcana stacks whenever Kafka detonates, because you only have 2 ways of applying dots on the enemy, if that makes sense. Kafka's light cone counts as an additional dot alongside Kafka's own dot in her kit. Black Swan has a basic attack that allows you to increase the Arcana stacks of the enemy, so you don't have to use your elemental skill every single turn. It has a 3-turn duration on the enemy, and you are rewarded for, of course, playing the character as scoping positive character, so why not do so? And you increase the Arcana stacks on the enemy. You have the follow-up attack from Kafka whenever you use a basic attack on this character. So overall, she has a nice synergy in the DoT teams because not only she's skill point positive, but she's able to increase the damage of her own personal damage quickly with her basic attacks too. Just like Sampo, it feels like Sampo's basic attack where he puts the wind shear, and the wind shear stacks up to 5 times on enemy. Since Black Swan has a bunch of abilities that are very hard to land, you're going to need a ton of effect hit rate, but you're rewarded for actually building as much effect hit rate on the character as possible. That's because Black Swan has a bonus ability that allows you to deal more damage the more effect hit rate you have. So this is a very nice additional touch to the character overall. Now, my favorite combination to use was actually 3 DoT characters alongside May. I found this to be the hardest team comp to pull off, only because you're going to need a lot of investment to your characters, and also you don't have any defensive option holding the team up. So if you were to take damage, considering most of the characters in the team party are very squishy, the team is going to fall apart. But man, is it the most fun, risky playstyle we have in the game so far. And why not have as many damages as you can have in the party of May? Because you are directly incentivized for doing so based on May's kit. May giving speed to every ally on the field, May giving resistance penetration to every ally in the field, which matters a lot whenever you are directly hitting enemies with the elements that the enemies are weak to, and then increasing the damage of characters, right? And then break effect to everyone in the team party is very nice for DoT characters overall. So I found May to be the best character, obviously, with Black Swan, And having, of course, 3 DoT characters with Rame, with her being a skill point positive character too, or a skill point generating character like Luocha, man, she just provides so much for the DoT teams and DoT characters in general. It feels tailor made. Now, real talk, in Simulated Universe, this team is going to feel really good. The highest damage I've gotten with the team was actually 600,000. And that was the highest I've ever hit in Simulated Universe, considering that that run was actually really bad with the RNG because I wasn't getting that many cards for the Nihility. To hit that much with the DoT characters alongside Ruame was actually insane, and it gave me a bit of a dopamine rush, I'm not going to lie. But Ruame just being the best character to use overall in Simulated Universe, and then Black Swan just being very nice alongside DoT characters, you're going to need a couple of things. Of course, having the card that allows your DoTs to heal you, right? Whenever you directly detonate DoTs with Kafka, or whenever the enemy takes their turn and takes DoT damage, you heal up. That's very important for running a team without a defensive option. Now, with the DoT teams overall, I found March 7th to actually be a very nice character to use. Now, I know a lot of you don't use March 7th because she's a 4-star, which means she's hard to build. She has the less base stats overall. And this character is a little weird in how she works, right? You are not rewarded for going full defense on a character. You need speed. You need effect hit rate. Because this character has a freeze in her kit. And she needs to take turns because with her shields lasting 3 turns, you want to refresh the shield as many times as you can. And you want those counter stacks on your March 7th as well. However, in the DoT team, she's been very nice to use, not only alongside Ruame whenever the enemies are weak to ice, but because she has a freeze in her kit. If you freeze the enemy and the enemy has DoT with Ruame in the party, you can get triple procs on the enemy because once the enemy takes their turn and they're frozen, they'll delay their action, be unfrozen, and then take their turn again. And if you have a character in the team party that is able to break that enemy before they take their turn once more, you're going to break them with Ruame, delay their action, and then you can go in and detonate even more with Kafka. I tried going for some weird Bronya hypercarry teams, and I found this team to not be the best team, of course, but it's kind of decent. Of course, if you have some of those options to save on skill points on Bronya, and with Black Swan being a skill point positive character mostly, it's not all that bad. Now, of course, it is going to be dependent on the amount of speed you have on Bronya, if she can keep up with your characters like Kafka, because Kafka can take a lot of skill points away, depending on how fast she is. But I found this team to be very fun to use nonetheless, and having the elemental skill on Kafka, the attack damage increase, it just feels really nice once you do take the turn with the character. But since Black Swan is essentially a support for DoT teams in general, just having a lot of extra personal damage to provide, seeing Yoon in combination with Kafka and Black Swan feels really good because you're giving a ton of energy, a ton of damage increase, speed to that ally, which makes her invaluable in the DoT teams. You're able to detonate quicker, get more Arcana stacks, you have more speed, so you're getting more Arcana stacks. It feels really nice in combination with Black Swan and Kafka. But I'd rather just stick to Ruame because she is the best of both worlds. Only presents you with different options you can use in case you don't have some of these premium gacha characters. As for the light cone, I'm using Eyes of the Prey because I have a lot of refinements on the light cone already, and it is the best option if you do have those extra refinements. But even at refinement 1, it still is a very nice option to use on the character. But as it goes for other options, you can use whatever you have honestly on your account. You just have to make sure that you do have enough effect hit rate to land your abilities. And I'm going to keep it real with you all. I don't have that much effect hit rate on my Black Swan. I only have 83, 89 after unlocking most of her traces. And considering I'm able to land most of my Arcana stacks, I land my defense down all the time, and I land the ultimate as well. I don't really need to have a ton of effect hit rate, because missing Arcana stacks here and there isn't going to make or break the character's performance in the team. It gives you a little extra damage, sure, but at the expense of having to farm even more for DoT characters when they're the easiest characters to farm for in the game, I'd rather not, honestly. And as for the set I've been using the Prisoner set, which is going to run supreme on the characters and DoT characters in general. And of course, for the body, I use attack percentage, but if you do not have the Sampo Light Cone Eyes of the Prey, and you are missing a ton of effect hit rate in the character, I suggest you going a effect hit rate chest that's going to be the best of both worlds and give you that guaranteed effect hit rate. Because maybe you don't have that many effect hit rate substats to make up for having low effect hit rate without having, other sources of effect hit rate on the character. As for the planar set, I found Glamoff to be really good. Even if you don't meet the 160 speed criteria, you're only missing out on 6% damage increase. That isn't a massive damage loss if you take into consideration you're getting a lot of attack increase with the 12% as well. And I know this has been in a lot of discussion before the character did release, because it was thought that Black Swan was going to be a character that was very ult dependent. And the truth of the matter is, with the DoT team, I just deal so much damage in combination with Rame, Kafka. I never really needed to get the ultimate on the character more than once. I saved the ult for when I'm fighting the bosses, and then once I do fight the boss, I'd use the ultimate on the bosses to make the fight even more quicker. You only really need to get the ult on the field with this character once, and once you do, the fight is pretty much over at that point. So I never really needed, before the tutorial mission, Silver Wolf's 4-star like on a 5-star depending on how you see it, on Black Swan herself, because I'd rather just have this on E0 Silver Wolf or on a Pela with the 1 set, right? But let's say you have no gacha options and you are a brand new player and you're looking to get into the DoT playstyle. You just picked up Kafka in the last patch. Fermata is going to be the best of both worlds, because Fermata is everything you need in order to increase the damage greatly of the character. You have Ruame. You can increase the break effect of the character with 20% from Ruame, and you get a further 32% up to break effect for the character. So that's a ton of break effect already, and you probably will get some in some of your substats for your relics, so that's even more break effect. And you increase the damage dealt to enemies that are inflicted with shock or wind, and that's pretty much having either Kafka or having Black Swan in the party. Real talk, is Black Swan worth rolling for when you have a well invested to Sampo? Maybe you have Eidolon 6 for the character, maybe you have this character all the way to level 80, you have a ton of traces unlocked for this character, you don't feel like further investing to a character that might not be worth the upgrade. And I can say for certain, Black Swan is just really good, because you take into consideration, Black Swan has a ton of AoE in her kit. The only AoE Sampo has that is reliable is his ultimate. And aside from that, he's not really providing much against enemies that are not weak to wind. When you're fighting enemies that are not weak to wind, this character's damage falls off greatly. You take into consideration, Black Swan has defense decrease on her elemental skill for 3 turns. That means when you're fighting enemies that are not weak to wind or lightning, you're going to deal more damage, because being able to lower defenses of those enemies will mean you deal even more damage. But the truth of the matter is, just like I've been doing, you can use these 2 characters in the same team party, and they'll feel really nice in combination with one another. Because again, you're giving more Arcana stacks to Black Swan, increasing her own personal damage. So why not just go ahead and keep your well invested into Sampo, and then just go for Black Swan. But if you absolutely despise Sampo because you did not like his recent appearance in the Panacani story, right? Or you just hated the character even before he was in Panacani, right? And you just want to know if Black Swan is going to be better than Sampo, if you plan to use a full mommy team with like Ruame, Kafka, Huo is definitely not, but you get what I'm trying to say here. Is Black Swan worth your Stellar Jades? Yes, because she provides a lot more than Sampo being a 5-star character. She has higher base stats, which means she has more damage. She has higher multipliers, which means she has more damage. Her damage is actually pretty much near infinite scaling. I mean, I don't say infinite, quote unquote, because there is a cap to it, but you're never really going to hit that cap ever, right? So she has a ton of damage, way more than Sampo ever will have. And then defense down is just very good for DoT teams in general. So I've been rambling on for long enough. Yes, Black Swan is definitely well worth the Stellar Jades over Sampo any day. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm not going to turn this or sway the video to a Shoji Pool video. We'll have a video like that later down the line going over Black Swan. We'll go over Dan Bieber tonight, because he is in the same patch currently as the returning raid up character. We have Sparkle coming up in the near future. And then we also have Jing alongside Sparkle. So there's a lot to talk about. We'll have a different video, right, in the near future. So look forward to that. I like Mono Quantum, which is pretty quirky. I also like DoT teams, which is pretty quirky in itself. If you like these exotic, weird teams that feel really nice to use and provide an overall more fun perspective to Honkai Star Rail's combat system, hey, you should definitely go for Black Swan. The triple DoT with Ruan Mei has been the most focused I've been when playing Honkai Star Rail, if that tells you anything. So yeah, it's been a blast to use. That's going to be the video here. Thank you for watching, and have a nice rest of your day. Peace.